Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are on part 18. Hard to believe, Heba, that it has been 18 days into the month of Ramadan, and it has been just a glorious time trying to understand so many different ideas and the reflections that we've had. They have taken us to the Hadith and to some of our own personal experiences and deep into the different iyahts that have come up for this time period. We have used Quran.com and looked at the revelation, historical background, as well as understanding the name and how the chapter was named, and also topics and themes. So it's been really great. Heba has a really wonderful surprise for us. We've been waiting this day to hear. And so I'm going to start off by just giving us an understanding of the period of revelation. And we are in chapter surah, minum, which is the believers. And it's just a wonderful chapter. We're going to enjoy this one really, very much. The surah takes its name, al-Mu'minin, from the first verse. So from the very beginning, you're going to understand how that happened. And both its style and theme indicate it was revealed during the middle stage of prophethood at Mecca. Reading between the lines, one feels that a bitter conflict had begun between the Holy Prophet and the disbelievers of Mecca, though the persecution by them had not yet become tyrannical. It appears that the surah was sent down during the climax of the famine in Mecca. And you're going to see more information about that in verses 75 through 76, because we always suggest that you continue to read on. If we start in the middle, if we start towards the beginning, if we don't start exactly where, but today we are going to be starting right at the beginning of the chapter, you won't have to do that, but you will have to continue to read so you can get the sense of the entire revelation for this particular part. And so we're talking about the famine in Mecca, which according to authentic traditions occurred during the middle stage of prophethood. Moreover, according to a tradition related by Urwa bin Zubair, Hadarat Umar, who had embraced Islam by that time, said, "This surah was revealed in my presence, and I myself observed the state of the Holy Prophet during its revelation. When the revelation ended, the Holy Prophet remarked, 'On this occasion, 10 such verses have been sent down to me that the one who measures up to them will most surely go to paradise.'" Then he recited the initial verses of the surah. And this is authentic, coming from Ahmed, Tamirsi, Nasai, and Hakim. And so this is really great. Can you imagine even being in the presence of the prophet, having received revelation? It's hard to imagine that. And there are theme topics which are central to help the disbelievers accept Islam and follow the message of the Holy Prophet. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Heba. I know you have your surprise, and I just wanted to lay the base of what our iyahts would be for today.
Jazakumullah khairan, Kim, and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're having a great and a blessed Ramadan so far. As Kim mentioned in the beginning, this is the 18th day, so we're almost done with the second third of this month, which is the third of Al-Maghfirah. And we're approaching the last third of the month, which is al-'itq min al-nar, or being freed from the hellfire. And we're approaching the last 10 nights of Ramadan soon. And we, inshallah, are going to make a special sharing one day, inshallah, very soon, about the virtues of those 10 nights and how can we make the best out of those 10 nights. And we have Laylatul Qadr in these 10 nights as well. So that's something. Today I have two things to start with when it comes to sharing before we start our recitation. The first thing is the correct interpretation for ayah in Surah Al-Anbiya that we recited yesterday, ayah or verse number 44. So I need to start with this in the beginning, and then I have the surprise, which is the sharing about as-sabr and as-sabr al-jamil, the difference between patience and beautiful patience. And that, I have to say, will be a bit of a long sharing. So I would kindly ask you all to bear with me, but it worth it. So starting with our first sharing, which is verse number 44 in Surah Al-Anbiya, the surah we read yesterday. Yesterday, the verse says, I'm going to read it in English and in Arabic. So the verse says in Arabic, بل متعنا هؤلاء وآباءهم حتى طال عليهم العمر أفلا يرون أن نأتي الأرض ننقصها من أطرافها أفهم الغالبون. And the verse reads how the idolaters are deceived by their long and luxurious lives in this world, and the explanation of the truth. The verse continues. Kim, if you can get us the verse on the screen, that will be a lot helpful for everybody to keep track of what we're saying and to read as well the translation instead of me just saying it orally like this. Um, All right. So yeah. So the verse reads, verse number 44, Surah Al-Anbiya, which is chapter 21. Again in Arabic, بل متعنا هؤلاء وآباءهم حتى طال عليهم العمر أفلا يرون أن نأتي الأرض ننقصها من أطرافها أفهم الغالبون. And the translation reads, but on the contrary, we have provided good things for these disbelievers and their fathers until life was prolonged for them. Then do they not see that we set upon the land, reducing it from its borders? Is it they who will overcome? And yesterday I said clearly that I haven't read the interpretation for this ayah, but my own understanding of the ayah is that this ayah speaks about the shape of the land. And I've read from NASA's website that the land is not perfectly round. Then I went back and I read the interpretations and the exegesis of those of this ayah, and I was mistaken. My understanding and my reading of the Arabic wording and the Arabic language was not correct. So I would like to clarify that today, and I'm going to read for you the proper or the correct interpretation of نأتي الأرض ننقصها من أطرافها. So the part that says, do they not see that we gradually reduce their land from its borders? What does that mean? So here I'm reading from Tafsir Ibn Kathir. So Tafsir Ibn Kathir starts and says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains that these, like the disbelievers, they have been deceived and misled by the luxurious life that they live, or by the luxuries that they enjoy in this world, and the long life that they have been given. So they believe that they are following something good. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns them, see they not that we gradually reduce the land in their control from its outlying borders, okay? And Ibn Kathir continues and says, this is like the ayah, وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا مَا حَوْلَكُمْ مِنَ الْقُرَى وَصَرَّفْنَا الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And indeed, this ayah that I'm reciting right now is in chapter 46, verse 27, and the ayah reads in English, and indeed we have destroyed towns round about you, and we have shown the ayat in various ways that they might return. And Al-Hasan al-Basri said, this means the victory of Islam over disbelief. The meaning is, do they not learn a lesson from the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supported those believers against their enemies? He destroyed the disbelieving nations and the evil-doing townships, and he saved his believing servants. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَهُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. Is it then they who will overcome? Meaning, on the contrary, they are the ones who will be overcome, who will be defeated, humiliated, and brought low. So these are the interpretation or the correct understanding of this part of the ayah. The ayah is talking about the lands of al-mushrikeen, not just in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but actually even before, because it's just a rule that is running on the earth since the beginning of history, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever there is a confrontation between the believers and disbelievers, gradually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah's revelation and the believers overcome the disbelievers and they take more land. So this is the correct interpretation for the ayah. I misunderstood and I misread the Arabic wording. So I just needed to make that very clear in the beginning. So coming to the main part of today's sharing, the difference between patience and beautiful patience. And I've gone through several sources, but I'd like to highlight two main sources that I will be focusing on today. The first source is Tafsir al-Razi, Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, the interpretation book of Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, and he's one of the Muslim scholars. And the other the other source that I have used as well, the other main source, of course, there are several others, but the other main source that I've used is actually tafsir of Imam Muhammad bin Tawalli al-Sha'rawi. And he is an Egyptian, he was an Egyptian scholar. He was amongst the greatest Egyptian scholars who worked with Quran exegesis and Quran interpretation. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, first of all, before digging into the differences between patience and beautiful patience, we shall first think or get reminded of what patience mean, what sabr is in Arabic, in the Arabic language. Okay, so sabr in the Arabic language basically means to hold yourself from doing something. Okay, to have a control over yourself from something. Okay. And in other interpretation of the word sabr in Arabic, it means that basically you are patient, okay, or you bear something that has pain in the outside, that causes pain in the outside, but it causes inspiration in the inside. And this is beautiful, okay? So, and we have three things that we're going to speak about today. We have, first of all, the division of sabr. We have two divisions of sabr, two divisions of patience. And we have the types of sabr, the different kinds of sabr, and we have the different levels of sabr, okay? So we have different degrees and levels of patience, okay? And we'll take them one by one. So the first thing, the divisions of patience. There are two divisions of patience. So and again, I'll be using a lot of Arabic wording here, but I'm going to do my best to translate them in English. So the sabr is divided into two parts. It's either الصبر على شيء, so you are patient with something that's happening for you, and with here is very crucial. So basically, when something pains you, or something happens to you, or a hardship that you're going through, you're patient with that thing, okay? Or إما أن تصبر عن شيء, or that you are patient on something. And patient on meaning that you're holding yourself, you're basically stopping yourself from doing something. And here the example for it is that if you desire something that is haram, if your nafs, if your soul desires something that is impermissible in Islam, okay, and you hold yourself from doing it, okay, this is sabr as well in Arabic, okay? So we have two divisions. Either you're patient with a calamity that hits you, something that you're dealing with, or that you are basically controlling your desires and you're holding yourself back from doing something that's impermissible in Islam. Then we have different types of sabr. And here I'm talking about sabr, generally speaking, patience, generally speaking. The first thing is صبر على النفس وشهواتها. So to have patience with your own self and with your own desires. And the scholars said this is the first type of sabr that we all experience, that we have patience with our own selves, okay? And we have patience to keep reminding ourselves what is halal and what's haram, what's permissible and what's not permissible. And even if we desire or we have or we see some benefit in doing the haram things, for example, gambling, some or lottery, people take because some people engage in it because it will result in they might be successful in it and they will win the lottery, okay? But most of the time they are going to lose it and they're going to lose the money. So although you have the desire to be part of the lottery, but you remind yourself that this is impermissible in Islam, this is haram, so you keep away from it, okay? So that's the first type of sabr. The second type of sabr is sabrun ala mashaqqati at-ta'a. So you are patient with the burden of the acts of worship, and we spoke about that meaning before, and we spoke about the worshiping and the acts of worship are not easy and they are heavy on the soul, and that the Prophet ﷺ said حفت الجنة بالمكاره وحفت النار بالشهوات. So the Prophet ﷺ said that the paradise is surrounded with hardships, okay? So this is the description, and that the hellfire is surrounded with temptations. So that's the second type of sabr, that you have patience with the acts of worship, that you keep telling yourself and reminding yourself of the reward, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us to do those acts of worship, and you pray your daily prayers, and you fast Ramadan, and you do your zakah, and you do your hajj, and all of the different acts of worship. Third kind of sabr is صبر على الأقدار التي تؤلمك ولا تفقه حكمتها فيك. So being patient with the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for you. So basically the hardships that you go through or the calamities that hit you, without you being aware of the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in it happening to you. So this as well is another kind of patience, okay? Because not every time, I would say 99% of the times when a hardship hits, you can't see clearly what is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind this hardship that hit you or behind this calamity that hits you. Sometimes we can clearly see, oh yes, I understand that this is for my benefit because of so and so and so, but most of the time we don't. And it is enough, it's said by the scholars that it is enough that you are aware that this calamity hit you because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed it for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who brought this calamity to you. And it is enough that you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wisdom, and you will be wisdom enough to have patience over this calamity or with this calamity because you trust that Allah is the most wisdom. So of course there is a wisdom in it. What is it? You might understand it, that you might not, okay? So this meaning, I found it very beautiful as well, that you don't have to understand the wisdom behind everything, okay? It is enough that you believe. And this brings us to the main core or the core belief of the Muslims, that La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. And once you believe in that, you believe in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once you believe in that, the life is made easy after this, okay? So that's the second, this is the third type of sabr. And the scholar said as well, if a hardship, if you go through a hardship, okay, because of, I would say, you fall short in doing something, okay, so then you should blame yourself for this because you are the one who put yourself into this hardship, okay? And we cannot, the scholars said that they can't call it calamity, okay? Because you were the cause of this, okay? You didn't do your part, and thus, as a result, or the repercussion was that you went through this hardship. When can we name something as a calamity? It's when you're doing everything you must do, you're doing your best basically, and then the calamity hits. So it prevents the results of what you're doing or what you're working towards to happen. So example. Example for the first part and for the second part. Example for the first part, and it's a very silly example, but it will make the point. If I'm a student at the university and I spent the entire semester playing and just partying, and I have never ever did an assignment, and I have never ever looked in a book, okay, and it's the test time and I failed the test, then I need to blame myself because I didn't do my job, okay, basically. I can't say that this is a calamity that hit me. There is no calamity, I didn't do my job in the first place. But provided that I am a good student, I have done everything that I need to do within the semester. I did my assignments, I was reading my books, and it was doing my best. And on the way to the test, I got hit by a car and I was transported to the hospital. So I missed the exam. So I failed the exam. This is a calamity that hit me because I did everything that I can in order to achieve a certain goal, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had another decision for me. And then when the calamity happens, I need to calm down and try to understand. Like, again, you not all the time you will understand the wisdom, but in this example, for example, you can think of, maybe I was going to the test thinking that, you know, I am going to get the full mark, or I'm going to pass the test because of what I have done throughout the year, because of my own doings. And I forgot completely that I cannot pass the exam unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to pass it. So this calamity hit to remind me that, you know what, you are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are in need of Allah's help in all the situations. So always keep Allah in mind and do not think that you deserved whatever you're gonna gain because of you deserved it. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you to get this. And we spoke about this meaning before in different situations. So that was the third type of sabr. And then fourth type of sabr is صبر لك فيه غريم أو صبر ليس لك فيه غريم. The fourth type of sabr is has two sections. A section where you have an opponent and a section where you don't have an opponent. So the section that you don't have an opponent when it comes to the calamity, so there is no other party that's causing the calamity that was part of the calamity or the hardship to hit you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Luqman, the ayah said, واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور, and be patient with whatever hit you. This is amongst the firm resolve, I would say. This is my own translation, by the way. I didn't read right now the translation in English. Okay, so how about the other section, which is a calamity that hits you because of an opponent? Somebody caused this harm to be done to you. You have one of two ways to choose from, and it's completely optional. It's your right to choose whatever you want. Okay, the first way to go is that you get your right back. Okay, and you punish the, like I would say, the opponent or that other party with the same severity that they harmed you with. Okay, and we came across this ayah when we were talking about war in Islam before, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the mu'mineen or the believers to punish using the same severity and do not transgress. And this is the key. So if you're going to punish with the same severity, with the same level, but do not transgress, because then you will become amongst the wrongdoers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it clearly in the Quran. So that's one way you could take. The other way you could take, and it's again optional, the other way has 3 steps in them. It's either you do the 3 of them, or just one of them, or some of them. Okay, so again, it's up to you. So the other way is the way of al-muhsinin, or the extra doers of good, or the doers of extra good. The first step in this way is وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ. So basically to swallow your anger, to control your temper. Okay, so that's the first step. If that's what you can do, then it's fine. It's up to you. If you'd like it to take it a bit further, the second step will be وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and those who forgive people. Okay, so that's the second step for you if you choose to do it. So you're going to forgive, and by forgiving is that you're not mentioning it every now and then. You just kind of forget or try to forget that this happened, okay? And if those are the 2 steps that you like to take and it's enough for you, then it's okay. But there is actually a 3rd step, is al-ihsan, okay? And to treat your opponent with kindness. And here I have the ayah in Surah Fussilat, and I'm going to read it in both English and Arabic. The ayah says in Arabic first, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Fussilat, and here I am reading, just a minute. Oh my gosh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, I lost the verse. I have Fussilat in front of me here. Just a minute. Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا. Here. So it's Surah Fussilat is chapter 41, and I'm reading verse 34 and 35. So verse 34 reads in Arabic, ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. And the translation reads, good and evil cannot be equal. Respond to evil with what is best. Then the one you are in a feud with, or the one that you the one whom between you and him is enmity, will be like a close friend, or will be like a devoted friend. Then the next ayah, the ayah that follows reads, وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم. And the translation reads, but this act cannot be attained except by those who are patient and who are truly fortunate. And in other translations, by those who are patient and those who have a great portion of good. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that this is not easy. Okay, and that's why he said وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. And this, nobody can do that except those who are extremely fortunate, really, with their iman and with their belief and with their understanding of the religion and with their understanding and of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is hard, okay? But this is the other way, okay? So we have 2 ways, okay? In dealing with whoever transgressed or oppressed you in a way or another. It's either you take your right, but do not transgress. That's very important. Or you take the other way that has 3 steps. الكاظمين الغيظ, controlling your temper, العافين عن الناس, forgiving people, and Allah يحب المحسنين, and doing extra good to those or treating them with kindness. Till here, we're done with the types of sabr. Now, where is sabr jameel? So what is that? That's all we're talking about patience, generally speaking, okay? So what is the difference between patience and beautiful patience? So, sabrun jameel, the beautiful patience, is the type of patience that is not associated with complaint, okay, or disheartened. And this is very important. So you might have sabr, okay, but you're complaining all the time. You're talking about the calamity and you're not satisfied with what's happening and you are so annoyed with what's going on. Sabrun Jameel doesn't have this. Sabrun Jameel is patience without complaining to anybody, okay? And the scholars said there is a difference between complaining and complaining actually in Sabrun Jameel happens with just one party, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're not complaining to the people, you're complaining to the creator of the people. So you're complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Yaqub alayhi salam in Surah Yusuf said, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I am complaining to Allah, not complaining to anybody else, okay? And the scholars said there is a difference between complaining to Allah and complaining Allah to his creation. So I know there are many people who do this, okay? And sometimes they do it in a really unacceptable and in an awful way, you know, like, I don't know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that to me, but what can we do? We're gonna have patience. This is not the point behind sabr. And sabrun jameel as well, that you don't complain, And if you're going to complain, you're complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as well, it's said that understanding that you are dealing with Allah directly, that this thing that's happening is basically between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sabrun jameel is not easy, okay, at all. So just imagining that you're going through a hardship and you're just having everything in you, you're not complaining to people, and you're complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're still doing your best to solve whatever hardship you're going through. That doesn't mean that you're taking the back seat, okay? But you're not talking about it. You're not complaining to everybody, okay? And sabrun jameel is not easy, and that's why Yaqub alayhi salam said, فَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the help comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in sabr jameel, in beautiful patience, if you choose though, you will need the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to maintain beautiful patience and to be able to maintain this for a long time, okay? And I'll be reading from Imam Razi, tafsir of Imam Razi, and here there was lots and lots of different opinions when it comes to sabr and jameel, and that again, it was said in the tafsir that you do not do sabr jameel with your enemies. So if you are in a situation with an enemy, you don't do sabr jameel. You'd rather get you right, and you'd rather get the oppression lift, and you'd rather take away the oppression from you. Sabr jameel, you're doing it when you are in a situation that's as hard as Yaqub's alayhi salam. So he was dealing with a situation where the oppressed and the oppressor were both his children. Okay, so it's what he's gonna do, you know. So here, sabrun jameel. Okay, and as well, it's said that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, the sabr must be with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as possible, and you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the help as much as possible. And they say that this links to Al-Fatiha, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. So it's you who we worship, and it's you who we seek for help. Subhanallah. So again, sabrun jameel is the kind of patience that doesn't have a complaint with, so you're not complaining to people, and you're only complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as well to seek Allah's help in order to maintain this this sabr, okay, and in order to maintain this patience. And that's all what I have for today.
Well, that was wonderful and major. So you said that's all that you had. You had a lot to say and a lot to give us in terms of the different degrees of Saba and Saba Jamil. Wonderful, just wonderful. I think we probably had some understanding of Saba, but not knowing all the different degrees and how they work and how they function. And in different places in our lives, we've instituted it without really understanding all the different pieces. So that was good clarity. And inshallah, you can give us a resource where we can go back and read it, because it is a lot to take in, you know, all of those different degrees. It's 2 sections, and then there's degrees within them. So,
but I hope that I find them in English, Kim. The problem is that I have all the sources in Arabic, you know.
Yes, yes. Or inshallah. Well, that means that one day you may have to write, you know, a book. It's really important for us to have more scholars in Islam, especially Islamic women scholars. So we'll be looking forward to you and others doing this, and even our students, right? So
these are very big words. I believe I'm way less than that. So I'm smaller than this.
Yes. But there's so much that can happen with our student leaders and their futures. And I know that we have some students that are interested in becoming more astute in Islamic studies. So there's possibility there that we can see a Smithy that will become an Islamic scholar. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. We are always looking forward to reading in Arabic and in English. And we have less time to do that today, but we will resume tomorrow. And
Yes, inshallah.
of course, you have the evening to.
Inshallah. Yes. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-Mu'minun, 5 verse as usual. And we will reflect. I believe we're going to reflect from the very first day, but we will see. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون.
In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, successful are the believers, those who are humble in their prayers, those who avoid nonsense, those who work for charity, those who safeguard their chastity.
Verse number 2, I'm not sure that the translation is accurate. Khashi'un is not humble in the prayer. Khashi'un is more of focusing and really concentrating in what you're reading in the prayer, and you're aware of what you're doing in the prayer. That's my understanding of it according to different readings. So I'm not sure if humble is a correct translation here. And it's quite interesting that the first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started with is the prayer. Okay, so that tells a lot about the prayer and its importance. And we spoke about the prayers before, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed upon us the prayers in the heavens, not on the earth. And that is the second pillar of Islam directly after believing in La ilaha illallah. And this is the only pillar in Islam. We have 5 pillars in Islam. Basically, shahadat anna la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So be witnessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one God and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger and his servant. And then iqam as-salah, praying the 5 daily mandatory prayers. Then ita is zakah, paying zakah or paying the charity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to pay. And then Sawm Ramadan, this is the 4th pillar of Islam, to fast the month of Ramadan, which we're doing right now. And then
Heba, did we lose you? I'm hoping we did not lose Heba. But what I can say is, while we're waiting to get her back, that there's another translation for, we lost you, Heba, for a moment.
Oh, really? I heard you all the time.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Okay, so what was the last thing you heard me saying?
You were talking about the translation, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay. All right. So I was saying the translation, I think it's not very accurate because khashi'un is not humble. Okay. Khashi'un is basically concentrating and focusing and understanding what you're reading and what you're doing. So being sensible of your prayer. And I said that it's quite interesting that the prayer came directly as the first of
yes,
the
we did hear that.
Yes, and that we spoke about that before, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed upon us the prayers in the heavens, not on the earth. And we said that it is the second pillar of Islam directly after believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the one and the only God. And we said we have 5 pillars of Islam. So the first thing is be witnessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the true and one, the only God. And then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his prophet and messenger. And the second pillar of Islam is the prayers, 5 daily mandatory prayers. The third is paying charities, zakah, ita is zakah. And the 4th is Sawm Ramadan, which we are doing right now, is fasting the month of Ramadan. And the 5th is Hajjul Bayti liman istata'a ilayhi sabilan, is basically doing pilgrimage for whoever has the capabilities, the financial and the health capabilities to do it. And it's quite interesting that those 5 pillars of Islam. The first one, of course, is there. So I'm not talking about the first one because otherwise you're not a Muslim. The second, the other four pillars, Sawm Ramadan, Az-Zakah, and Hajj, you can not do them in certain cases, okay? So Psalm Ramadan, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it's permissible for some sort of people not to fast Ramadan, and it is explained in the Quran if you're with illnesses or travelers or so on, so on, so. And the zakah, not everybody pays the zakah. You pay the zakah only when you reach a certain amount of money and that a whole year has passed on that certain amount of money, then you pay a certain amount of percentage from your money as charity. And Hajjul Bayt, again, it just explains itself. Whoever is capable of financially and health-wise to do Hajj. The only pillar that there is no excuse in not doing it is prayer. Prayers never, in any situation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it is permissible for the believers not to pray. It's just the other side of believing in Allah. You know, when you have a coin, you have two sides of the coin. One side is believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the other side is the prayer, because this is the manifestation of your belief, basically. Even in war, there is a way to do prayers in war, okay? Even if you're sick, even if you're completely paralyzed, you're still required to pray with your eyes or with your heart, okay? It really doesn't matter. You're still required to pray. So this is the first attribute that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about when it comes to believers. First thing, how your prayers are. That's number one. Number two, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ, who avoid nonsense. And this is, again, very crucial because we witness that all the time, okay? We witness that really all the time. You could be in a gathering where people are just backbiting everybody and they are talking about nonsense and you're part of this, okay? And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in a hadith, there is a very beautiful hadith that the Prophet said, I'm reading from Jami' al-Tirmidhi, chapter of righteousness and maintaining good relations with relatives. The hadith reads in Arabic: لا تكونوا إمعة تقولون إن أحسن الناس أحسننا وإن ظلموا ظلمنا ولكن وطنوا أنفسكم إن أحسن الناس أن تحسنوا وإن أساءوا فلا تظلموا. So the Prophet ﷺ said, do not be a people without a will of your own. And this is very important. Saying, if people treat us well, we will treat them well. And if they do wrong, we will do wrong. But accustom yourselves to do good if people do good, and do not behave unjustly if they do evil. And this is very important, okay? So here, the ayah speaks about you are a human who is, alhamdulillah, Allah gave you brain, so you can assess the situation you're in, and you don't have to be engaged in nonsense if you don't want to, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's the second attribute. And of course, it speaks about charity. The third attribute, the fourth verse we have, again, the importance of charity in Islam is huge because you're basically sustaining the community, you're sustaining the society, you're sustaining the ummah, okay? Because who have something give to those who don't have it. So we can all live a proper life, okay? And then وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ, and this is a huge verse, okay? And we came upon this meaning before. And we spoke about وَلَا مُتَّخِذَاتِ أَخْدَانٍ. That was for women, not having secret lovers, and for men as well. Okay, so like you need to be aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to your sexual relations. This is very huge, and this is very important in Islam. Because as well, Islam takes the reputation of people seriously. And this is something that you cannot transgress with. So, and this is one of the hudud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention that there is a translation that I'm looking at for verse 3. Let me know if this is accurate too. It says, and who shun what is vain. Instead of those who avoid nonsense, it says,
I'm afraid that I don't understand that fully.
Mm-hmm.
like the language for me is a bit hard to understand. The English language here for me is a bit hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it sounds similar to those who avoid nonsense
Okay.
in terms of the English translation of it,
Mm.
the English understanding of it. But I just wanted to read that for those English speakers to give you another sense of
Mm.
how another scholar interpreted that.
Mm.
And, but yeah, this is so, I mean, the first five iyahts, how significant, powerful, and important they are
Mm.
in the Union chapter. So I know there's a whole lot more to come.
Mm. Yes.
Let's see if we
Yes.
can go ahead and read a little bit more. I'm gonna,
Okay. Bismillah. So we're going to take from 6 till 10. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
yes.
I will actually read verse 5 again in this
Oh,
time. So it relates to 6 as well. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلواتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون.
those who safeguard their chastity, except from their spouses or their dependents, for they are free from blame. But whoever seeks anything beyond that, these are the transgressors. Those who are faithful to their trusts and pledges, those who safeguard their prayers, these are the inheritors.
And again, the ayahs are no. The ayahs are amazing again. So when it comes to intimate relations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, except for the spouses. So in a halal way, okay, not in a haram way.
Right.
And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even elaborated more in verse 7. فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. But whoever seeks anything beyond that, okay, those are the transgressors, because this is serious in Islam, okay? And then ayah number 8, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. You should take care of or being faithful to their trusts and pledges, and this is huge in Islam as well. We have a hadith, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm reading from Mishkat al-Misbah, Kitab al-Iman, the book of faith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا إيمان لمن لا أمانة له ولا دين لمن لا عهد له. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he who is not trustworthy has no faith. Clearly, okay? And he who does not keep his covenant has no religion. So this is huge, okay? If somebody trusted you with something, be it a secret, be it money, be it whatever, you should take care of this trust, okay? And if you promised something, you should keep your promise. Those are two significant things when saying who is a believer and who is not, okay? And then again, we came to الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. So the prayer we started with and the prayer we ended with, to just tell us the importance of the prayer. And here it says to safeguard their prayers when it comes to time. So they praying on time, okay? And they are praying it appropriately, okay? In an appropriate manner, okay? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the reward for those, what is the reward? Those are the inheritors, and inherit what exactly? So ayah number 11 will tell us those will inherit paradise. So it's a huge word, okay? You basically inherit something that is for you, right? Like when somebody dies, you inherit your parents, or you inherit your siblings, okay? So this ayah speaks as if the paradise is yours from the beginning, and you're gonna inherit it because of those attributes, because that's how you were living on earth. Do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we hear everything that you're saying. We're soaking it in, Heba.
Okay, so we'll continue, inshallah. 5 more verse, at least. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون ولقد خلقنا الإنسان من سلالة من طين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين ثم إنكم بعد ذلك لميتون ثم إنكم يوم القيامة تبعثون. So I read till 16 just to make a complete meaning.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Who will inherit paradise wherein they will dwell forever? We created man from an extract of clay. Then we made him a seed in a secure repository. Then we developed the seed into a clot. Then we developed the clot into a lump. Then we developed the lump into bones. Then we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we produced it into another creature. Most blessed is God, the best of creators. Then after that, you will die. Then on the day of resurrection, you will be resurrected.
Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us those details of how a human is created. Apart from the miracle that these are the very specific details that a fetus goes through before we had ultrasounds. So that's something that we'll just put aside right now. But why? What is the wisdom behind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went through all those details about how a person, a human is created? So the scholars said, and this was one of the powerful tools of the Quran to convince the people and to convince the disbelievers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ability to resurrect people. Because the main thing that the disbelievers were challenging the Prophet ﷺ, saying that, are we going to be resurrected again after death? That's impossible. How can we? When we die and turn into bones and ashes, how are we going to be resurrected again? So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using a reversed logic for them. So showing them the steps of the creation in the beginning and telling them that resurrecting you will not be harder than creating you step by step like this from the beginning. So, and think of it in a human way, okay? So what is harder, okay? To do a design from scratch, or when somebody asks you to redraw your design or to make a copy of your design, okay? So it's harder to do the design from scratch. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them that those are the steps that we went through to make you humans alive, okay? So, and after that, you're gonna die, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to resurrect you again to stand before him on the day of judgment. Right, shall we continue? Do you have time?
Yes, so why don't we continue? We're at 17. If we can do maybe 2 more readings.
Great, okay.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we will work with 17 till 20. Bismillah. ولقد خلقنا فوقكم 7 طرائق وما كنا عن الخلق غافلين وأنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر فأسكناه في الأرض وإنا على ذهاب به لقادرون فأنشأنا لكم به جنات من نخيل وأعناب لكم فيها فواكه كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وشجرة تخرج من طور سيناء تنبت بالدهن وصبغ للآكلين.
We created above you 7 pathways, and we are never heedless of the creation. And we sent down water from the sky in proper quantity and settled it in the ground, and we are able to take it away. With it, we produce for you gardens of palms and vines, yielding abundant fruit for you to eat, and a tree springing out of Mount Sinai, producing oil and seasoning for those who eat.
And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after giving the disbelievers the example in details of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created humans, he gives them other examples of his mightiness. Like he is the mighty and he is the creator and he is capable of doing this and even things that are way more or greater than just creating humans. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about creating the skies, like the seven heavens, and that the sky is up there without pillars holding it, and it's not falling upon us. And that the sky gives us water that is the main sustenance of life on earth. Okay, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us that if we are not grateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, this water, the water that is basically to maintain our life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take it away from us. And then he speaks about the results of water falling on earth. So the water was basically there to give you those beautiful gardens and those beautiful crops that you consume. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in ayah number 20 about olive trees. And this highlights the importance of olive trees, and we will come upon olives and olive trees in different parts of the Quran further later on, inshallah, when we're reciting. So we shall continue, inshallah, verse 21 till verse 25. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ فِي الْأَنْعَامِ لَعِبْرَةً نُسْقِيكُم مِّمَّا فِي بُطُونِهَا ولكم فيها منافع كثيرة ومنها تأكلون وعليها وعلى الفلك تحملون ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون فقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يريد أن يتفضل عليكم ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين إن هو إلا رجل به جنة فتربصوا به حتى حين.
And there is a lesson for you in livestock. We give you to drink from what is in their bellies, and you have many benefits in them, and from them you eat. And on them and on the ships you are transported. We sent Noah to his people. He said, O my people, worship God. You have no deity other than him. Will you not take heed? But the notables of his people who disbelieved said, this is nothing but a human like you, who wants to gain superiority over you. Had God willed, he would have sent down angels. We never heard of this from our forefathers of old. He is nothing but a man possessed. Just ignore him for a while.
Shall we continue?
Okay.
Shall we take it to verse 3?
It's so hard to break away.
Yes, I know.
I know, yeah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال رب انصرني بما كذبون فأوحينا إليه أن اصنع الفلك بأعيننا ووحينا فإذا جاء أمرنا وفارت النور فاسلك فيها من كل زوجين اثنين وأهلك إلا من سبق عليه القول منهم ولا تخاطبني في الذين ظلموا إنهم مغرقون فإذا استويت أنت ومن معك على الفلك فقل الحمد لله الذي نجانا من القوم الظالمين وقل رب أنزلني منزلا مباركا وأنت خير المنزلين إن في ذلك لآيات وإن كنا لمبتلين.
He said, "My Lord, help me, for they have rejected me." So we inspired him, "Build the ark under our observation and by our inspiration. And when our decree comes to pass and the oven boils over, load into it 2 pairs of every kind, together with your family, except those of them against whom the word has already been pronounced. And do not speak to me concerning those who did wrong, for they are to be drowned. Then when you and those with you are settled in the ark, say, Praise be to God, who has saved us from the wrongdoing people. And say, My Lord, land me with a blessed landing, as you are the best of transporters. Surely in that are signs. We are always testing." Well, that is explicit, where it says we are always testing. We've been saying this all along, that the dunya is definitely a test for
Mm,
transporting us into a different reality that is
mm,
more blessed than what we have here. But that really tells us all the different signs that it went through, telling us about the sky, telling us about the livestock, telling us about humans and how they're created from a clot to flesh to, from the bones to the flesh. All of those things, we know they are signs. And it just, I think, is a wonderful conclusion to this day's reading, to say we are always testing.
yeah. Yes, I wish we could continue though, but our sharing today was a bit long, but I
Yeah.
hope that it was beneficial and I hope that it was useful. So I would urge everybody to continue reading at least Surah Al-Mu'minun till the very end. And again, please use a tafsir book with you to be able to understand better the ayahs and to relate to the ayahs. And hopefully you'll be able to finish the whole part. And tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to meet with new sharings, with new recitation, and with new reflections. Jazakallah khairan. And I hope you keep me and Kim in your diet. Just invest in those few days left in this second third and make sure that you are very well prepared for the last third of this month and for the most important night during the upcoming 10 days, inshallah.
Yes. And we know that things happen. There are some exceptions that happen. So you're unable to fast for that day, get right back on it when you're able to. We do have time after Ramadan to complete our fast. And then when necessary, of course, good deeds are always, always accepted and important if needed. And I want to remind everyone, those of you that are on campus, if you are able or interested in joining the iftar, it is a number that's small. We have to keep in the COVID protocols, but you can get in touch with Yasin and Aisha, co-chairs of Kaliman, and you will be able to sign up for the Sunday's iftar or the following Sunday's iftar, and we will be sending out more information around Eid as well. So look for that. And there is also expected to be a student-led program that will talk more about the different themes from our racial justice in Islam theories series. And if you have if you had the opportunity to watch any of those, or if you have been reading the Quran, then you are going to be well equipped to have, and of course, all the different perspectives that you have and stories that we have from our own life experiences, you will be well equipped to listen in and get something from it or to share as well. So look out for that too. And I think that's what we have. And we will see you, inshallah, tomorrow. May Allah bless you. Ramadan Mubarak.